During wedding, billionaire hit pregnant wife. Security cinema made his father disown him forever thought for 18 shattered vow. The fall of a billionaire empire. The wedding was supposed to be the happiest day of her life, until the billionaire groom did the unthinkable. In front of hundreds of guests, a single shocking moment was caught on camera, and it cost him everything, including his father's love. Before we go into details, click subscribe, like and comment where you're watching from. I would be glad to know this story goes as far as Canada, all of the United States of America, Australia, Africa, and even the United Kingdom. So let me know where you're watching from on comment section. I pray may the good God Almighty bless and preserve you all and your family. Amen. Let's begin. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our channel, where we dive into the heart-wrenching tales that remind us of the fragility of human bonds, the weight of secrets, and the unyielding power of truth. Today, we bring you a story that's as opulent as it is devastating, a tale of love twisted into betrayal, wealth crumbling under the force of one unforgivable act, and a father's love tested to its breaking point. This is A Shattered Vow, the fall of a billionaire empire. Buckle up, because this emotional rollercoaster will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about family, fortune, and forgiveness. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We post stories like this every week that will tug at your heartstrings. Our story begins not at the wedding, but decades earlier, in the shadow of the Harrington Empire. Victor Harrington was born into unimaginable wealth. His father, Reginald Harrington, built a global conglomerate from nothing, a man of steel will, who clawed his way from poverty to become one of the world's richest tycoons. Reginald's mantra? Family is the only legacy that matters. He drilled it into Victor from a young age: honor, integrity, and protection of those you love. Victor grew up idolizing his father, but beneath the surface, a darkness brewed. Spoiled by privilege, Victor developed a temper as volatile as the stock market. He hid it well, charming in boardrooms, ruthless in deals, but those close to him knew the storm that raged inside. Fast forward to Victor's 35th year. He's the heir apparent, poised to take over the empire worth billions in tech, real estate, and pharmaceuticals. Enter Elena Vasquez, a brilliant architect from a modest background. She wasn't after his money. She saw the vulnerable boy beneath the billionaire facade. Their whirlwind romance was the stuff of fairy tales, private jets to Paris, diamonds that could sink ships. But love, as we know, can blind us to red flags. Elena ignored the occasional outbursts, the way Victor's fists clenched when things didn't go his way. He's passionate, she'd tell her friends. He'll change. Music swells with romantic strings. Montage of dates, sunset beaches, candlelit dinners. Then, a positive pregnancy test, Elena's joyful tears. 6 months into their engagement, Elena discovered she was pregnant. Victor proposed on the spot, in a helicopter over the city skyline. The wedding was set to be the event of the decade, a lavish affair at the Harrington family estate, attended by celebrities, politicians, and business moguls. Elena, glowing with her baby bump, dreamed of a perfect life. But cracks were forming. Victor's stress from a looming merger deal made him irritable. Late nights at the office turned into arguments. "You're too sensitive," he'd snap. Elena brushed it off, for the baby, for the future. The wedding day arrived like a dream wrapped in silk. The estate glittered under the summer sun. Guests whispered in, or as Elena walked down the aisle in a gown that cost more than most people's homes. Victor stood at the altar, handsome in his tuxedo, but his eyes held a shadow. The ceremony was flawless. Vows exchanged, rings slipped on fingers. "I promise to cherish you forever," Victor said, his voice steady. Elena believed him. Tension builds with subtle, ominous music. Cut to the reception. Laughter, toasts, dancing. The reception was a whirlwind of champagne and cheers. Reginald, beaming with pride, pulled Victor aside. "Son, this is your legacy now. Treat her right, she's family." Victor nodded, but inside, the pressure boiled. Elena, feeling the baby's kicks, excused herself to rest in a private lounge adjacent to the ballroom. Victor followed, ostensibly to check on her. What happened next would shatter everything. Security cameras, installed discreetly for the high-profile event, captured it all. No one knows what sparked the argument. Maybe it was Elena questioning Victor's drinking, or perhaps a comment about his workaholic ways. Words escalated. Victor's face twisted in rage. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under," he shouted. Elena, hand on her belly, pleaded, "Think of our child, Victor. Please." In a flash of fury, Victor raised his hand and struck her, hard across the face. Elena stumbled back, collapsing against a table, her wedding veil tearing. She clutched her stomach, tears streaming, whispering, "The baby." Victor froze, horror dawning, but it was too late. The cameras unblinking, I recorded every second. The slap, the fall, the silence that followed. Unbeknownst to Victor, the feed was live monitored by the estate security team. One guard, a veteran named Marcus who had served Reginald for years, saw it unfold in real time. Marcus didn't hesitate. He alerted Reginald immediately, pulling him into the control room. Reginald watched the footage, his face draining of color. "My God, what have I done?" he muttered, not blaming Elena, but himself for raising a monster. The reception continued oblivious, but backstage, chaos erupted. Reginald confronted Victor in a side room, the footage playing on a loop. "You hit her. Your pregnant wife? On your wedding day." Victor stammered excuses, stress, alcohol, a momentary lapse. But Reginald's eyes were steel. "I built this empire for family, not for abusers. You're no son of mine." In a move that stunned the world, Reginald disowned Victor on the spot. He called an emergency family meeting, revoked Victor's access to company accounts, and transferred control to a board of trustees. The news leaked like wildfire, tabloids screamed headlines, "Billionaire's brutal wedding blow-up." Victor's empire crumbled overnight. Stocks plummeted, partners fled, and his reputation was in tatters. Emotional crescendo. Montage of fallout. Elena in hospital. Victor alone in a hotel. Reginald's press conference. Elena, rushed to the hospital, gave birth prematurely to a healthy baby girl named Hope. Ironic, isn't it? She filed for divorce, supported by Reginald, who became her fiercest ally. "You're the daughter I never had," he told her. Victor, stripped of his fortune, spiraled into isolation. He sought therapy, confronted his demons, but the damage was irreparable. Years passed. Victor rebuilt modestly, a small consulting firm, therapy sessions, volunteer work at domestic violence shelters. He watched from afar as Hope grew, never approaching, honoring Elena's wishes. Reginald, before passing, left a letter. "Forgiveness is earned, not inherited. Prove you're worthy." In an unexpected twist, on Hope's 18th birthday, Victor received an invitation from Elena. A tentative réunion. Tears, apologies, a fragile bridge rebuilt. But the scar remained, a reminder that one act can topple empires. Conclusion music fades in, uplifting yet melancholic. Screen shows family photos, then a call to action. And there you have it, folks, the emotional saga of a billionaire's fall and the redemptive power of truth. If this story moved you, like, comment below, what would you do in Reginald's shoes? Share your thoughts, and subscribe for more heart-pounding tales. Remember, no matter your wealth, family is priceless. Until next time, stay empathetic. A Shattered Vow, The Fall of a Billionaire Empire, 1-hour YouTube script. Opening shot, drone footage of a sprawling estate at sunrise, golden light glinting off marble fountains. Soft piano and violin music swells. Narrator's voice is warm yet commanding. Welcome back to our channel, where we unravel stories that break your heart, mend it, and leave you forever changed. Today, we are diving into a saga of love, betrayal, and redemption that will keep you glued to your screen for the next hour. This is A Shattered Vow, The Fall of a Billionaire Empire, a tale where one unforgivable act topples a dynasty, exposes hidden truths, and forces a family to confront the cost of power. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, and join our community of storytellers who believe in the power of human connection. Let's get started. Cut to black and white flashbacks. A young boy in a tuxedo, chasing a kite across manicured lawns, laughter echoing. The camera pans to a stern but loving father watching from a balcony. Our story begins in the shadow of the Harrington Empire, a name synonymous with wealth, influence, and ambition. Victor Harrington was born with a silver spoon so large it could have been a ladle. His father, Reginald Harrington, was a legend, a a self-made billionaire who turned a single software patent into a global conglomerate spanning tech, real estate, and pharmaceuticals. By the time Victor was born, the Harringtons were worth $50 billion, their name etched on skyscrapers and charity galas alike. Reginald had one rule above all: family is the only legacy that matters. He taught Victor that wealth was a tool, but honor, loyalty, and love were the foundation of their empire. Victor, though, was a complicated heir. As a child, he was bright and curious, trailing his father through boardrooms, soaking up lessons in power. But privilege bred entitlement. By his teens, Victor's charm masked a growing temper. A broken toy led to tantrums. A lost game sparked outbursts. Reginald, busy conquering markets, missed the signs, believing Victor would grow out of it. "He's just passionate," Reginald would say, brushing off teachers' concerns. But passion, unchecked, can become poison. Transition to vibrant color. Victor at 25, stepping out of a private jet, paparazzi flashing. Upbeat music underscores his rise. Fast forward to Victor at 35, the golden boy of the business world. He was handsome, charismatic, and ruthless, closing deals that doubled the empire's value. The media called him the Prince of Profit. But behind closed doors, Victor's temper flared brighter. Employees whispered about his screaming matches over minor errors. Friends noticed how he'd clench his fists when challenged. Yet, to the world, he was untouchable, until he met Elena Vasquez. Soft romantic music. Montage. Elena sketching blueprints in a cozy apartment, her eyes alive with dreams. Elena was everything Victor wasn't. Born to immigrant parents in a working-class neighborhood, she clawed her way through architecture school, earning accolades for her innovative designs. At 29, she was hired to redesign the Harrington Estate's East Wing, a dream contract. When she met Victor at a site meeting, sparks flew. He was captivated by her wit, her refusal to fawn over his wealth. She saw past the billionaire facade to the lonely man craving connection. Their romance was electric. Dinners in Paris, yacht trips in Monaco, a proposal in a helicopter over New York skyline. Elena's friends warned her about Victor's mood swings, but love is a master illusionist. "He's under pressure," she'd say. "He'll change when we are settled." Music shifts to hopeful yet tentative. Close up, Elena holding a positive pregnancy test, tears of joy. 6 months into their engagement, Elena discovered she was pregnant. Victor's reaction was pure joy. He spun her around, promising the world for their child. The wedding was planned as the event of the decade, a $10 million affair at the Harrington estate, with 500 guests, a 50-piece orchestra, and a menu curated by Michelin star chefs. Elena, 5 months pregnant, glowed with anticipation, her baby bump a gentle curve under her silk gown. The world watched, expecting a fairy tale. Ominous cello notes creep in. Scene shifts to the wedding day, aerial shots of the estate, guests in designer attire, laughter filling the air. June 12, 2025, the day that should have been perfect. The Harrington estate shimmered under a summer sky, roses cascading over archways, crystal chandeliers catching the light. Elena walked down the aisle, her veil trailing like a comet's tail. Victor's smile was picture perfect, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of strain. A massive merger deal, $20 billion in the balance, had kept him up for weeks. He'd been drinking more, snapping more. Elena noticed but stayed silent, trusting their love would hold. The ceremony was flawless. Vows exchanged, rings gleaming, the crowd erupting in applause. "I promise to cherish you forever," Victor said, his voice steady. Elena believed him, her hand resting on her belly. The reception kicked off with toasts and dancing, the ballroom alive with laughter. Reginald pulled Victor aside, his face warm with pride. "Son, this is your legacy now. Protect it, protect her." Victor nodded, but inside, the pressure was a ticking bomb. Music darkens. Scene shifts to a private lounge off the ballroom, dimly lit, intimate. Elena, feeling the baby's kicks, slipped into the lounge to rest. Victor followed, saying he wanted to check on her. No one knows what sparked the argument. Security footage later revealed only fragments. Perhaps Elena questioned his drinking, or maybe she mentioned his late nights at the office. Voices rose. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under." Victor shouted, his face red. Elena, hand on her belly, pleaded, Think of our child, Victor. Please. In a moment that would haunt him forever, Victor's hand shot up, striking Elena across the face. She stumbled, crashing into a table, her veil tearing. The baby, she gasped, clutching her stomach, tears. The estate security cameras, installed for the high-profile event, captured every second. Marcus, a grizzled security chief who'd served Reginald for 20 years, watched the feed in real time from the control room. His heart sank. Without hesitation, he radioed his team and sprinted to find Reginald. "Sir, you need to see this, now." Reginald, mid-toast with a senator, excused himself and followed Marcus to the control room. The footage played on a loop: Victor's rage, Elena's fall, the deafening silence that followed. Reginald's face crumpled. "My God, what have I done?" he whispered, blaming himself for raising a son capable of this. He stormed to the lounge, where Victor stood frozen, staring at Elena as she sobbed. "Get out," Reginald growled. Victor stammered. "It was a mistake, Dad. I didn't mean," but Reginald cut him off. "You hit your pregnant wife? On your wedding day? You're no son of mine." Dramatic music peaks. Montage. Elena rushed to the hospital. Victor escorted out by security, guests whispering in shock. The reception continued, but the mood soured as whispers spread. Reginald called an emergency family meeting that night, barring Victor. In a move that rocked the financial world, he disowned Victor, stripping him of his title as heir. He froze Victor's accounts, revoked his company access, and transferred control to a board of trustees. By morning, the news was everywhere. Billionaire heir disowned after wedding assault. Stocks tanked, partners pulled out, and Victor's name became poison. Elena, in the hospital, went into premature labor from the stress. Miraculously, she gave birth to a healthy girl, named Hope, a beacon in the darkness. Supported by Reginald, Elena filed for divorce and a restraining order. Reginald, heartbroken but resolute, became her protector, funding her recovery and vowing to support Hope. "Your family now," he told her, his voice breaking. Music softens, melancholic. Scene: Victor alone in a hotel room, staring at a bottle of whiskey. Victor's world collapsed. Shunned by friends, vilified online, he spiraled. But in that darkness, a flicker of self-awareness emerged. He checked into therapy, confronting the anger rooted in his childhood expectations. He sold his sports cars, moved into a modest apartment, and started a small consulting firm, donating half his earnings to domestic violence shelters. He wrote letters to Elena, never sent, begging forgiveness. Time-lapse montage: Hope growing up, Elena thriving as an architect, Reginald aging but proud. Years passed. Elena rebuilt her life, raising Hope with love and strength. Reginald, before his death in 2035, left most of his fortune to charity and a trust for Hope, with a small fund for Elena's firm. Victor, now 50, lived quietly, haunted by his past but striving for redemption. He volunteered, spoke at shelters, and never contacted Elena, honoring her boundaries. Uplifting music begins. Scene: Hope's 18th birthday, 2043, a sunny park. Then, the unexpected. Elena, now 47, reached out. Hope, curious about her father, had asked to meet him. Elena, after years of healing, agreed to a supervised reunion. At a park, Victor faced his daughter for the first time. Tears flowed as he apologized, not just to Hope, but to Elena, who listened silently. "I don't expect forgiveness," Victor said, "but I'll spend my life earning it." Hope, wise beyond her years, replied, "It's not about erasing the past. It's about what you do now." Conclusion begins. Music swells, hopeful yet bittersweet. Narrator's voice returns. And so, we reach the heart of our story, not a tidy ending, but a fragile new beginning. Victor's empire was gone, but he gained something greater, a chance to rebuild trust. Elena, a survivor, showed strength in allowing that chance. And hope. She was the legacy Reginald always spoke of, not wealth, but love that endures pain. Screen shows family photos, then a slow zoom on Hope's smiling face. This tale reminds us that power and money can't shield us from our flaws, but redemption is possible when we face them. Reginald's final letter to Victor, read after his death, said it best: "Forgiveness is earned, not inherited." Prove you're worthy. Victor's journey continues, one step at a time. Call to action. Upbeat music fades in. Wow, what a journey. If this story hit you in the feels, drop a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and comment, could you forgive Victor? What would you do in Elena's shoes? Subscribe for more emotional stories every week, and hit the bell so you never miss one. Until next time, remember, family is the legacy that matters. Stay kind, stay strong, stay tuned. End credits roll over a montage of Hope. Elena's Designs winning awards, Hope graduating, Victor helping at a shelter. A Shattered Vow, The Fall of a Billionaire Empire, extended 1-hour YouTube script. Opening shot, aerial view of the Harrington estate at dawn, mist curling around marble statues. A haunting piano melody plays, layered with soft strings. Narrator's voice is warm yet tinged with gravitas. Welcome back to our channel, where we weave tales that grip your heart, challenge your soul, and remind you of the fragile threads that bind us. Today, we are diving into a story that's equal parts opulent and devastating. A saga of love warped by rage, a dynasty crumbled by one unforgivable act, and a family forever changed by the truth. This is A Shattered Vow, The Fall of a Billionaire Empire. For the next hour, prepare to be swept away by an emotional journey that will leave you questioning the cost of power and the power of forgiveness. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell, and join our community of storytellers. Let's dive in. Fade to black and white flashbacks. A young boy, Victor, running through a sprawling mansion, chasing a butterfly. His father, Reginald, watches from a study window, a proud but weary smile on his face. Our story begins not at the wedding, but in the roots of the Harrington Empire, a name that echoed through Wall Street and beyond. Reginald Harrington was a titan, a man who rose from a one-room apartment in Brooklyn to build a $50 billion conglomerate in tech, real estate, and pharmaceuticals. His mantra, drilled into his only son, Victor, was simple: family is the only legacy that matters. Reginald believed wealth was a tool, but love, loyalty, and honor were the bedrock of their dynasty. Victor, born into this world of private jets and penthouses, grew up worshipping his father, but privilege came with a shadow. Victor was a golden child with a hidden flaw. By age 10, his tantrums over lost games or broken toys hinted at a temper that simmered beneath his charm. Reginald, consumed by boardroom battles, dismissed it as youthful fire. He'll grow into his responsibilities, he'd say. But Victor's entitlement grew with the family fortune. By his 20s, he was a master dealmaker, closing billion-dollar contracts with a smile. But those close to him knew the truth. Victor's rage could flare like a storm, swift and destructive. Transition to vibrant color. Victor at 30, stepping out of a sleek black car, paparazzi flashing. Upbeat electronic music underscores his rise. By 35, Victor was the face of the Harrington Empire's future. The media dubbed him the Prince of Profit, a billionaire bachelor whose charm masked his volatility. Employees whispered about his shouting matches over minor errors. Friends noticed his clenched fists when challenged. Yet, to the world, he was untouchable, until Elena Vasquez walked into his life. Soft romantic music. Montage. Elena sketching blueprints in a cluttered studio, her eyes alight with passion. Elena was a 29-year-old architect, born to Mexican immigrants who ran a small grocery store. She fought her way through scholarships to become a rising star, her designs blending elegance with sustainability. Hired to redesign the Harrington Estate's East Wing, she met Victor during a site visit. Their connection was instant. His charisma met her authenticity. He was drawn to her independence, her refusal to bow to his wealth. She saw a man yearning for something real beneath the billionaire facade. Their romance was a whirlwind: candlelit dinners in Venice, stargazing on private islands, a proposal in a helicopter over Manhattan skyline, diamonds glinting in the city lights. But love can blind us to warning signs. Elena's friends noticed Victor's sharp tone when she disagreed with him, the way his mood shifted after stressful calls. He's under pressure, she'd defend. He loves me, he'll soften. When Elena discovered she was pregnant 6 months into their engagement, Victor's joy was electric. He dropped to one knee again, promising a future for their child. The wedding was set, a $10 million spectacle at the Harrington estate, with 500 guests, a string quartet, and a cake flown in from Paris. Music shifts to hopeful yet tentative. Scene: Elena holding a positive pregnancy test, tears streaming as she smiles. June 12, 2025, dawned like a dream. The Harrington estate was a vision of white roses and crystal chandeliers, the summer sun casting a golden glow. Elena, 5 months pregnant, floated down the aisle in a gown that shimmered like moonlight. Victor stood at the altar, dashing in his tuxedo, but his eyes held a shadow. A $20 billion merger deal had kept him up for weeks, his temper fraying. Elena noticed his drinking, his clipped responses, but she trusted their love would hold. The ceremony was perfection. Vows exchanged. "I promise to cherish you forever," Victor said, his voice steady. Rings slipped on, applause erupting. At the reception, guests danced under a canopy of stars, toasts flowing like the champagne. Reginald pulled Victor aside, his voice thick with pride. "Son, this is your legacy now. Protect her, protect your family." Victor nodded, but the merger's weight pressed harder, a storm brewing inside. Ominous cello notes creep in. Scene shifts to a private lounge off the ballroom, dimly lit, draped in silk. Elena, feeling the baby's kicks, slipped into the lounge to rest. Victor followed, saying he wanted to check on her. The security cameras, installed for the high-profile event, captured what happened next. No one knows the exact spark. Maybe Elena asked about his drinking, or maybe she pressed him on his late nights. Voices rose. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under." Victor shouted, his face flushed. Elena, hand on her belly, pleaded, "Think of our child, Victor. Please." In a flash of rage, Victor's hand struck her across the face. Elena stumbled, crashing into a table, her veil tearing. "The baby," she gasped, collapsing, tears streaming. Screen freezes on a blurred recreation of the moment, sensitive yet chilling. Narrator's voice drops to a whisper. The cameras caught it all, streaming live to the security control room. Marcus, a veteran guard who'd served Reginald for 2 decades, watched in horror. Without hesitation, he alerted Reginald, pulling him from a toast with a tech mogul. In the control room, Reginald watched the footage loop. Victor's hand, Elena's fall, the silence that followed. His face drained of color. "My God, what have I done?" he muttered, blaming himself for raising a son capable of such betrayal. Reginald stormed to the lounge, finding Victor frozen, staring at Elena as she sobbed. "Get out," Reginald roared. Victor stammered. "It was a mistake. I didn't mean," but Reginald's eyes were steel. "You hit your pregnant wife? On your wedding day? You're no son of mine." He called security to escort Victor out, the reception's laughter fading into whispers of shock. Dramatic music peaks. Montage. Elena rushed to the hospital, Victor alone in a car, paparazzi swarming, headlines flashing, billionaire heir's wedding scandal. That night, Reginald held an emergency family meeting, barring Victor. In a move that shook the world, he disowned his son, stripping him of his title, freezing his accounts, and transferring control of the empire to a board of trustees. By morning, the news was viral. Harrington heir disowned after assault. Stocks plummeted 30%, partners fled, and Victor's name became a curse. Elena, in the hospital, went into premature labor from the stress. Miraculously, she gave birth to a healthy girl, named Hope, a symbol of resilience. Reginald, at her bedside, vowed to support her. "Your family now," he said, tears in his eyes. Elena filed for divorce and a restraining order, her heart shattered but her resolve unbreakable. Music softens, melancholic. Scene. Victor in a dimly lit hotel room, staring at a whiskey bottle, then tossing it aside. Victor's world collapsed. Shunned by friends, vilified online, he spiraled into isolation. But in that darkness, a spark of change flickered. He enrolled in therapy, confronting the anger rooted in his privileged upbringing. He sold his luxury assets, moved into a modest apartment, and started a small consulting firm, donating half his earnings to domestic violence shelters. He wrote letters to Elena, never sent, pouring out his regret. Time-lapse montage. Elena raising Hope, her designs winning awards. Reginald aging, mentoring Hope. Victor volunteering at a shelter. Years passed. Elena thrived as an architect, her firm designing community centers for underserved neighborhoods. Hope grew into a bright, compassionate teenager, unaware of her father's past. Reginald, before his death in 2035, left most of his fortune to charity and a trust for hope, with a fund for Elena's work. To Victor, he left a letter. Forgiveness is earned, not inherited. Prove you're worthy. New subplot introduced. Music shifts to reflective. Scene, a young woman, Maria, at a shelter where Victor volunteers. Enter Maria, a single mother who'd escaped an abusive relationship. She met Victor at a shelter where he taught financial literacy classes. Initially wary, she saw his sincerity, his quiet apologies, his tireless work. They formed a cautious friendship, Maria sharing her story of survival, Victor listening without judgment. Her courage inspired him further, but he never crossed boundaries, respecting Elena's place in his past. Uplifting music begins. Scene, Hope's 18th birthday, 2043, a sunlit park. In 2043, an unexpected twist. Hope, now 18, learned about her father through old news clippings. Curious, she asked Elena to meet him. Elena, after years of healing, agreed to a supervised reunion. At a park, Victor faced his daughter for the first time. Tears fell as he apologized, to Hope, to Elena, who stood nearby, silent but listening. I don't expect forgiveness, Victor said, his voice breaking. But I'll spend my life earning it. Hope, wise beyond her years, replied, it's not about erasing the past. It's about what you do now. Conclusion begins. Music swells, hopeful yet bittersweet. Narrator's voice returns, rich with emotion. And now, we reach the heart of our story, a conclusion not of endings, but of new beginnings forged in pain and redemption. Victor's empire was gone, but he built something greater, a legacy of change. Elena, a survivor, showed unmatched strength in opening the door to healing. Hope, the child born from chaos, became the bridge between past and future. Scene, Victor reading Reginald's letter again, then looking at a photo of Hope. Flashbacks interweave, Elena's resilience, Hope's laughter, Victor's quiet acts of atonement. But here's the twist that will stay with you. At Hope's birthday, Maria arrived, invited by Elena. She'd been in touch with Elena, sharing how Victor's work at the shelter saved her life. In a moment no one expected, Elena extended her hand to Victor, not as a wife, but as a co-parent, a partner in Hope's future. You've changed, she said softly. Let's raise her together, in peace. Victor, tears streaming, nodded, overwhelmed by grace he never thought he'd receive. Reginald's words echoed, prove you're worthy. Victor hadn't just rebuilt himself. He'd helped others rebuild, Maria, countless shelter clients, and now, tentatively, his family. The Harrington Empire was no more, but a new legacy emerged, one of accountability, resilience, and love that endures scars. Screen shows a montage, Hope graduating college, Elena unveiling a community center, Victor speaking at a shelter gala, Maria smiling beside him. The final shot, a sunrise over the old Harrington estate, now a public park. This story isn't about wealth or power. It's about the courage to face our flaws and the strength to rebuild what's broken. Victor's fall was public, his redemption quiet. Elena's forgiveness wasn't weakness. It was power. And hope. She's the proof that love can rise from ashes. Call to action. Upbeat music fades in. Wow, what a ride. If this story moved you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs hope, and comment, could you forgive like Elena? Would you give Victor a second chance? Subscribe for more heart-wrenching stories every week, and tap the bell to stay in the loop. Until next time, remember, family isn't built on money, it's built on trust, love, and the will to keep going. Stay kind, stay strong, stay tuned. End credits roll over a montage of hope. Elena's designs transforming communities, Hope's graduation, Victor and Maria helping at the shelter, a family picnic with cautious miles. Notes on continuation. This extended script deepens the narrative with a new subplot involving Maria, adding complexity to Victor's redemption arc. Richer character development for Elena and Hope, emphasizing their resilience. An unexpected twist in the conclusion, Elena's outreach to Victor, facilitated by Maria's perspective, creating a layered resolution. Emotional beats that align with the template. Love, betrayal, consequences, and redemption. A shattered vow, the fall of a billionaire empire, extended 1 hour plus YouTube script. Opening shot, Drone footage of the Harrington estate at twilight, golden light fading into deep blue. A haunting piano and violin melody swells. Narrator's voice is warm yet heavy with anticipation. Welcome back to our channel, where we unravel stories that grip your heart, challenge your soul, and remind you of the fragile beauty of human connection. Today, we are diving into a saga that's as opulent as it is heartbreaking, a tale of love twisted by betrayal, a dynasty shattered by one unforgivable act, and a family forever reshaped by truth. This is A Shattered Vow, the fall of a billionaire empire. For the next hour, prepare to be swept into an emotional journey that will leave you questioning the cost of power and the power of redemption. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, and join our community of storytellers. Let's begin. Fade to black and white flashbacks. Young Victor Harrington, 8, running through a mansion's gardens, laughing as his father, Reginald, chases him. The camera lingers on Reginald's proud smile. Our story starts in the heart of the Harrington Empire, a $50 billion colossus built by Reginald Harrington, a self-made titan who rose from poverty to dominate tech, real estate, and pharmaceuticals. His mantra, etched into his only son, Victor, was, "Family is the only legacy that matters." Reginald believed wealth was a tool, but honor, loyalty, and love were the foundation. Victor, born into privilege, idolized his father, but privilege bred a shadow. By his teens, Victor's temper flared over small slights, a broken toy, a lost game. Reginald, consumed by his empire, dismissed it as youthful passion. "He'll grow into his role," he'd say. But unchecked, passion can turn to poison. Transition to vibrant color. Victor at 30, stepping out of a private jet, paparazzi flashing. Upbeat music underscores his rise. By 35, Victor was the heir apparent, dubbed the Prince of Profit for his billion-dollar deals. Charismatic and ruthless, he doubled the empire's value, but his temper grew volatile. Employees feared his outbursts. Friends noticed his clenched fists. Yet, to the world, he was untouchable, until he met Elena Vasquez. Soft romantic music. Montage. Elena sketching blueprints in a modest studio, her eyes alive with dreams. Elena, 29, was a brilliant architect from a working-class family of Mexican immigrants. Through scholarships and grit, she became a rising star, her designs blending beauty with purpose. Hired to redesign the Harrington Estate's East Wing, she met Victor during a site visit. Their connection was electric. His charm met her authenticity. He admired her independence. She saw a lonely man beneath the billionaire facade. Their romance was a fairy tale. Dinners in Paris, yacht trips in Monaco, a proposal in a helicopter over Manhattan. But warning signs flickered. Victor's sharp tone when challenged, his mood swings after stressful calls. "He's under pressure," Elena told friends. "He loves me, he'll change." Music shifts to hopeful yet tentative. Scene, Elena holding a positive pregnancy test, tears of joy. 6 months into their engagement, Elena discovered she was pregnant. Victor's joy was boundless. He spun her around, promising a perfect future. The wedding was planned as a $10 million spectacle at the Harrington estate. 500 guests, a 50-piece orchestra, a cake flown from Paris. Elena, 5 months pregnant, dreamed of a family built on love. Victor, though, was unraveling under a $20 billion merger deal, his drinking and temper worsening. Ominous cello notes. Scene, wedding day, June 12, 2025. Aerial shots of the estate, roses cascading, chandeliers gleaming. The wedding day was a vision. Elena floated down the aisle, her gown shimmering, her baby bump a gentle curve. Victor's smile was perfect, but his eyes held strain. The ceremony was flawless, vows exchanged. "I promise to cherish you forever," Victor said. Ring slipped on, applause roaring. At the reception, guests danced under starlit chandeliers. Reginald pulled Victor aside. "Son, this is your legacy. Protect her." Victor nodded, but the merger's weight was a ticking bomb. Music darkens. Scene, a private lounge off the ballroom, dimly lit. Elena, feeling the baby's kicks, retreated to the lounge to rest. Victor followed, claiming concern. Security cameras captured the tragedy. An argument erupted, perhaps over his drinking or late nights. "You don't understand the pressure," Victor shouted. Elena, hand on her belly, pleaded, Think of our child. In a flash of rage, Victor struck her across the face. Elena stumbled, crashing into a table, her veil tearing. The baby, she gasped, collapsing, tears streaming. Screen blurs the moment for sensitivity. Narrator's voice drops, heavy. The cameras, installed for security, streamed to the control room. Marcus, a veteran guard loyal to Reginald, watched in horror. He alerted Reginald, pulling him from a toast. In the control room, Reginald saw the footage loop. Victor's hand, Elena's fall, the silence. "My God, what have I done?" he whispered, blaming himself for raising a monster. Reginald confronted Victor in the lounge. "You hit your pregnant wife? You're no son of mine." Security escorted Victor out as guests whispered. That night, Reginald disowned him, freezing his accounts, stripping his title, and transferring the empire to a board of trustees. By morning, headlines screamed, "Billionaire heir disowned after wedding assault." Stocks crashed, partners fled, Victor's world collapsed. Montage, Elena in the hospital, Victor alone in a hotel, paparazzi swarming. Elena, rushed to the hospital, gave birth prematurely to a healthy girl, Hope. Reginald, at her side, vowed support. "You're family now," he said. Elena filed for divorce and a restraining order, her heart broken but her resolve ironclad. Victor, shunned and vilified, spiraled, until therapy sparked change. He sold his luxury assets, started a modest firm, and donated to domestic violence shelters, seeking redemption. Time-lapse, Elena thriving as an architect, Hope growing up, Reginald aging, Victor volunteering. Years passed. Elena's designs transformed communities. Hope, unaware of her father's past, grew into a compassionate teen. Reginald, before dying in 2035, left his fortune to charity and a trust for Hope, with a letter for Victor: "Forgiveness is earned. Prove you're worthy." New subplot. Scene: Maria, a single mother, at a shelter where Victor volunteers. Victor met Maria, a survivor of abuse, at a shelter where he taught financial literacy. Her strength inspired him. His sincerity earned her trust. Their friendship grew, platonic but profound, pushing Victor to deepen his atonement. In 2043, Hope, now 18, learned of her father and asked to meet him. Elena, healed by time, agreed to a supervised reunion. Victor faced his daughter, apologizing through tears. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said. Hope replied, "It's about what you do now." Music swells, hopeful yet bittersweet. Scene: the park, sunlight filtering through trees, Hope's birthday in full swing. Narrator's voice returns, rich with emotion. And now, we arrive at the heart of our story, a conclusion that isn't an end, but a tapestry of redemption, forgiveness, and the fragile beauty of second chances. The Harrington Empire fell, but what rose from its ashes was something far greater, a legacy not of wealth, but of humanity. Buckle up, because this final chapter will leave you breathless, hopeful, and forever changed. Scene: Victor, Elena, and Hope at the park. Victor's hands tremble as he hands Hope a small gift, a locket with a photo of her as a baby. The reunion at Hope's 18th birthday was a moment suspended in time. Victor, now 53, stood before his daughter, his face etched with years of regret and quiet growth. The locket he gave her held a photo from a hospital, taken the day she was born, a symbol of the love he failed to nurture but never stopped feeling. Hope, her eyes a mirror of Elena's strength, opened it and smiled softly. "Thank you," she said, her voice steady but curious. Elena watched from a nearby bench, her expression unreadable but soft, a far cry from the pain of 18 years ago. Victor spoke, his voice raw. "I was a man who thought power was everything: money, control, legacy. I hurt the people I loved most, and I'll carry that shame forever. But every day since, I've tried to be better, not for forgiveness, but because you both deserve a world where men like who I was don't exist." Hope listened, her gaze piercing. "Mom told me you've helped people like her, like me. That means something." Flashback: Victor at the shelter, teaching a class, Maria nodding in the back. Cut to Maria's story, escaping abuse, rebuilding with Victor's guidance. Maria, the single mother Victor met at the shelter, was a key to this moment. Her story paralleled Elena's, She'd fled an abusive partner, raising her son alone. Victor's classes gave her financial stability. His humility gave her hope. Over years, their friendship grew. Never romantic, but a bond of mutual redemption. Maria shared her story with Elena, writing letters about Victor's quiet work, how he'd funded scholarships for abuse survivors, how he listened without judgment. Those letters, arriving over months, softened Elena's heart, not to rekindle love, but to consider a shared future for hope's sake. Scene: Maria arrives at the party, carrying a cake, her son at her side. Elena greets her warmly. In an unexpected twist, Maria arrived at Hope's birthday, invited by Elena. The two women had corresponded for a year, Maria's words bridging the gap between Elena's pain and Victor's change. As Maria set down the cake, she hugged Elena, whispering, "Thank you for giving him a chance to be a father." Elena nodded, tears in her eyes. "It's not for him, it's for Hope. And maybe for me, too." The party continued, laughter mingling with tentative hope. Victor kept his distance, respecting boundaries, but Hope approached him, holding the locket. "Can you tell me about Grandpa Reginald?" she asked. Victor's eyes lit up, and for the first time, he spoke of his father without shame, stories of Reginald's kindness, his belief in family. Hope listened, hungry for roots she'd never known. Montage: flashbacks of Reginald with young Victor, then Reginald with Elena in the hospital, his letter to Victor. Reginald's letter, read after his death, echoed in Victor's mind. "Forgiveness is earned, not inherited. Prove you're worthy." That letter had been Victor's compass, guiding his work at the shelter, his therapy, his quiet life. But now, facing Hope, he realized the true test wasn't earning forgiveness, it was living with its possibility. Elena, watching them, felt a weight lift. She'd spent years protecting Hope from Victor's past, but seeing his humility, she wondered if protection could include healing together. Scene: Elena approaches Victor, the party fading into the background. Music softens to a single piano note. In a moment that stunned Victor, Elena extended her hand. "You've changed," she said, her voice steady. "I'll never forget what happened, but Hope deserves a father who's trying. Let's raise her together, in peace." Victor, tears streaming, took her hand, not as a husband, but as a co-parent, a partner in redemption. "I'll honor that every day," he whispered. Hope, watching, smiled, a smile that held the promise of a new family, scarred but strong. Narrator's voice returns, layered with emotion. Scene: the park at sunset, Hope laughing with friends, Victor and Elena talking quietly. But the story doesn't end here. The true legacy of the Harringtons wasn't the empire that fell, it was the lives rebuilt from its ruins. Victor's work at the shelter grew, his small firm partnering with Elena's architecture company to design safe havens for survivors. Maria became a counselor, her son thriving in college, funded by Victor's scholarships. Hope, inspired by her mother's strength and her father's redemption, pursued social work, vowing to break cycles of violence. Montage: Elena unveiling a community center, Hope interning at a shelter, Victor speaking at a gala, Maria mentoring others. The unexpected twist came a year later. At a shelter fundraiser, Hope took the stage, holding the locket. "My family's story isn't perfect," she said, her voice clear. "But it's proof that people can change, that love can heal, that legacies aren't built on money, they're built on courage." The crowd erupted, Elena and Victor in the audience, their eyes meeting with quiet pride. Maria, beside them, whispered, "You did this together." Scene: the old Harrington estate, now a public park, children playing where chandeliers once hung. The estate, sold after Reginald's death, became a community park, a gift to the city, funded by his charity. Where Victor once stood as heir, kids now ran free, their laughter a new legacy. Elena's designs dotted the city, each building a testament to resilience. Victor, no longer a billionaire, found wealth in purpose. And Hope. She was the heart of it all, proof that love could rise from ashes. Narrator's voice, final thoughts. Music swells, uplifting yet poignant. This story isn't about wealth or power, it's about the courage to face our darkest selves and the strength to rebuild. Victor's fall was a headline, his redemption was a whisper. Elena's forgiveness wasn't weakness, it was a revolution. Hope was the bridge, the legacy Reginald dreamed of, not billions, but bonds that endure pain. Screen shows a final montage. Hope's graduation, Elena and Victor at a parent-teacher conference, Maria's son hugging Victor, the park at sunrise. As we close, ask yourself, what's your legacy? Is it the mistakes you've made, or the steps you take to make them right? Victor proved he was worthy, not of wealth, but of love. Elena proved strength isn't in holding grudges, but in opening doors. And Hope, she proved that family is what we choose to build, not what we are born into. Call to action. Upbeat music fades in. If this story moved you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs hope, and comment, could you forgive like Elena? Would you give Victor a chance? Subscribe for more emotional stories every week, and tap the bell to never miss one. Until next time, remember, family isn't built on money, it's built on trust, love, and the will to keep going. Stay kind, stay strong, stay tuned. End credits roll over a montage. Hope speaking at a shelter, Elena's community center opening, Victor and Maria volunteering, the park filled with family. Emotional depth, Victor's reunion with Hope, Elena's cautious forgiveness, and Maria's role as a catalyst create a layered resolution. Unexpected twist, Elena's outreach, facilitated by Maria, reframes the narrative from division to cautious unity, emphasizing co-parenting over romance. Addictive resonance, Hope's speech and the estate's transformation into a park tie the story to Reginald's mantra, leaving viewers uplifted yet reflective. Legacy redefined, the conclusion shifts focus from wealth to purpose, with each character contributing to a new family dynamic. Thanks for watching, and please do not forget to click on the subscription box, comments, and like.